Did you know that Max Verstappen and Toto Wolff met secretly in Sardinia this week? Yes, F1's most dominant driver and the Mercedes boss were spotted in the same place, at the same time, and it wasn't a coincidence. The most surprising thing is that this comes right after Christian Horner's dismissal. Coincidence? I don't think so. Before I continue, tell me in the comments, is Verstappen leaving for Mercedes in 2026? Or is it just a pressure move on Red Bull? What was really discussed in that private meeting between Max and Toto that could change everything in Formula One? In this video, I'll tell you all about the secret meeting between Verstappen and Wolff, the bombshell of Horner's dismissal, and why August 2025 could mark a turning point in F1 history. Max Verstappen has undoubtedly been the central figure at Red Bull Racing in recent years. Under his leadership on the track, the team has reached levels of dominance not seen since the Schumacher era with Ferrari or Hamilton with Mercedes. However, in 2025, that landscape has begun to fracture. What was once a solid environment, with a stable management structure and an unbeatable car, has now become a team mired in technical uncertainty and internal chaos. And at the center of that storm is Verstappen, facing one of the most critical decisions of his career. The current season has revealed deep cracks within Red Bull. On a technical level, the RB21 is no longer the unbeatable machine everyone feared. The aerodynamic changes implemented, including a new front wing, suspension modifications, and modifications to the car's nose, have failed to correct fundamental balance and handling issues. Even with 12 major updates, the car continues to display inconsistent performance, especially in extreme conditions. This has led Max, accustomed to having a competitive car under any circumstances, to begin to question the direction his team is taking. But beyond on-track performance, there is another equally important factor: internal stability. Red Bull has suffered one of the hardest blows in its history with the dismissal of Christian Horner, a figure who was key not only in the development of the Verstappen project, but in the entire construction of the team's DNA. His sudden departure in July 2025 has left a clear leadership vacuum. The arrival of Laurent Mekies as the new CEO and team principal represents a radical change, just when the team most needed continuity and clear direction. This whole context has placed Verstappen in a completely different position than in previous years. It's no longer just about racing and winning. Now he's forced to think strategically about his future. Should he continue with a team undergoing a profound restructuring and facing a results crisis? Or open yourself up to new opportunities that could offer you a stronger platform for the coming years, especially with the major regulatory change looming in 2026? During the first week of July, social media platforms specializing in tracking private flights and luxury vessels began reporting a very peculiar sequence. Max Verstappen's private jet took off from Nice and landed in Sardinia, just as Toto Wolff's superyacht, a Mangusta 165 simply known as V, was sailing in the same part of the Mediterranean. The timing of the two movements was so exact that it left little room for doubt. Automated platforms like the @Verstappen Jet account quickly confirmed that the public records matched, and that this wasn't the first time something like this had happened, but it was certainly the most significant. What seemed like a simple scheduling coincidence turned into a well-founded suspicion when Ralf Schumacher, former F1 driver and regular commentator, made a straightforward statement. It's no coincidence that this week, two yachts are sailing around Sardinia. One belongs to Toto Wolff, the other to Max Verstappen. And from what I hear, there's a good chance they had a coffee together. That statement set off alarm bells because it wasn't coming from just any source. Ralph is someone with direct access to the paddock corridors and is usually very careful with what he says publicly. From then on, attention turned completely to what was really happening behind the scenes. Several European media outlets confirmed their simultaneous presence on the island, and the most revealing thing was that the two yachts, Wolff's and Verstappen's, called Unleash the Lion, were tracked to points close to the same time. This, in a setting as private and exclusive as the Sardinian coast, is no coincidence. Everything indicates that the meeting took place, even though there are no photographs or official statements to confirm it. In Formula One, what is not said often carries even more weight than what is published. These kinds of meetings don't happen out of courtesy. In modern F1, high-profile driver moves are often preceded by informal meetings, far from the media hype. And when it comes to the most dominant driver of the moment and the director of one of the most powerful teams, speculation becomes a real indicator that something is brewing. Toto Wolff, moreover, is known for moving ahead and preparing long-term deals. Christian Horner's departure has been, without exaggeration, one of the strongest earthquakes to shake the world of Formula One in recent years. For 2 decades, Horner was not only the principal of Red Bull Racing, but also the central figure in building one of the most successful organizations of the modern era. This change has had a direct impact on Max Verstappen. Christian Horner was a key figure in his development as a driver within Red Bull, and also his greatest advocate during critical team decisions. The relationship between the two was more than professional. Horner was the one who trusted Max from his early years and supported him in times of high tension. His departure, especially at a time of so much technical uncertainty, has left Verstappen isolated in an organization that is no longer the same one with which he signed his contract. That, in itself, is enough for the driver to begin to question his permanence. Horner's replacement has not calmed the waters either. Laurent Mekies from sister team Racing Bulls has taken over as the new CEO and team principal. Although he has technical and administrative experience, his arrival represents an unexpected turn for a team that until recently was synonymous with continuity. In his first comments, Mekies admitted that it still feels unreal to be here and not see him, referring to Horner. In this context, Verstappen's doubts become understandable. It's no longer just about on-track performance or short-term results. The team to which he entrusted his future until 2028 has undergone a structural transformation that could compromise its competitiveness in the coming years. What's worse, the RB21's technical problems, coupled with the loss of leadership, project a landscape where uncertainty outweighs promises. Most revealing is that Max has not attempted to quell the rumors with outright statements. His silence or evasive responses when asked about his future, far from quelling speculation, have fueled it even further. "The more I say, the more it will be reported," he said recently. It's a phrase that may seem neutral, but in reality it makes it clear that he has no intention of publicly committing to the current project. And in Formula One, when a driver of his caliber is ambiguous, it's because he's leaving the door open to change. Red Bull's situation has gone from dominant to fragile in a very short time. The dismissal of its most influential figure, car performance issues, and uncertain organizational decisions have turned the team into an unstable environment. And if a champion like Verstappen needs anything, it's certainty. The most solid information about the clauses has emerged from internal sources and sources close to the driver's entourage, such as Nelson Piquet Jr., who has revealed that Max could make a decision as early as August. This fact is no small matter. It establishes a critical window for the immediate future of Formula One. It is in this context that Mercedes enters the scene with unusual force. Far from being a faint rumor, the German team's actions indicate that its interest in Verstappen is real, planned, and supported from the highest levels of the company. According to La Gazzetta dello Sport, Mercedes CEO Ola Kalinius has already given the green light to sign Max at any cost, which entails not only covering his current salary, estimated at more than €50 million annually, but also assuming a buyout clause that could reach €120 million. For a manufacturer like Mercedes, with financial resources and global reach, this figure is not an impediment. It's an investment. Toto Wolff, Mercedes team principal, has handled this transaction with a blend of diplomacy and calculated transparency. Rather than denying the contacts, he has opted for an approach unusual in Formula One, publicly acknowledging that discussions have taken place. Phrases like, "some conversations you just need to have," or, "as head of the best manufacturer in the world, it's only natural that we're exploring the future," are not coincidental. Each word is designed to send a clear message to both Verstappen and Red Bull. Mercedes is ready and waiting for his decision. The difference between this negotiation and others in the past lies in the clarity with which Mercedes is executing its strategy. It's not just about signing a champion, but about preparing to dominate the next regulatory era that begins in 2026. Engines will change, aerodynamics will transform, and teams will have to reinvent themselves. Verstappen, in that scenario, will be the ideal pillar for building a new winning cycle. The combination of an active exit clause, a weakened Red Bull structure, and a Mercedes determined to conquer the next generation of F1 creates the perfect setting for a historic deal. On the upside, the first thing that stands out is Mercedes' proven ability to successfully adapt to major regulatory changes. They did so in 2014, at the dawn of the hybrid era, and did so with a consistency that kept them dominating Formula One for almost a decade. Now, with the arrival of a new technical cycle in 2026, the Brackley team appears to be following the same script. According to internal reports, the development of the new engine is moving forward with impressive performance figures. And that's music to the ears of any driver who aspires to continue winning in the future. Furthermore, Mercedes' organizational structure offers a kind of stability that Red Bull has lost in recent months. Toto Wolff, at the helm of the team for more than a decade, has maintained a culture of continuity, discipline, and long-term vision. It's not an environment in crisis, nor one that reels from change. But alongside these obvious advantages, there are also risks that cannot be ignored. The first has to do with uncertainty. The 2026 regulations will bring about a profound transformation in car design, powertrain types, aerodynamic layout, and energy efficiency. And in that scenario, no one, not even Mercedes, can guarantee they'll be at the top of their game from day one. What seems promising today can turn into frustration if the car doesn't perform on the track. Changing teams just before a complete redesign of a sport is always a high-risk move. Furthermore, Mercedes' recent track record isn't perfect either. In recent years, the team has suffered from notable inconsistencies. Problems with tire management, difficulties finding the right balance in high-temperature conditions, and aerodynamic adjustments that haven't always yielded results. While the potential is enormous, so are the challenges. And then there's the human and emotional aspect. Changing teams also means breaking ties, leaving an environment where you've grown as a driver, and entering a space where, no matter how professional you are, you'll have to start from scratch. Pressure, expectations, and comparisons would be inevitable, especially if results don't come immediately. Therefore, every step in this decision carries enormous weight. Because it's not just a technical or contractual issue, it's a leap of faith toward a new stage that could define the entire legacy of his career. August 2025 is shaping up to be the key month for defining the immediate future of Formula One. And that's no exaggeration. All roads lead to that point on the calendar, as if marked by an inevitable destiny, Max Verstappen's final decision on whether to continue with Red Bull or make the final jump to Mercedes. One of the first to publicly set this time frame was Nelson Piquet Jr., Verstappen's brother-in-law, and a person with direct access to the driver's most private circle. In a recent interview, he let slip a phrase that set off alarm bells. "I think he'll make a decision in August." And he did, so with a naturalness that suggests it wasn't just an opinion, but an involuntary leak. That statement, which seemed isolated, quickly meshed with what Toto Wolff has also mentioned on other occasions, that everything should be resolved before the summer break. This synchronization of information is no coincidence. In Formula One, August has always been a key month for the driver market. It's the moment when the season enters its only extended break, following the Hungarian Grand Prix, and where teams and drivers can make decisions without the immediate pressure of an upcoming race weekend. This year, that break begins after August 3rd, providing a natural 2 to 3 week window where everything can be defined away from the trackside spotlight. Furthermore, Red Bull and Mercedes need clarity. For Mercedes, closing the deal as soon as possible is essential to plan ahead for the design of the 2026 car around Verstappen's characteristics. For Red Bull, keeping or losing him will define the entire approach to its car development, its technical structure, and driver strategy for the coming years. There's no room for improvisation at a time when the entire sport is preparing for a new regulatory cycle. That's why August isn't just another month on the calendar. It's the turning point. The decision Verstappen makes during that period will not only impact his own career, but will also shift the balance of power in Formula One. Become a high-impact story with real implications for the immediate future of Formula One. The meeting in Sardinia between Max Verstappen and Toto Wolff is no longer a theory, but an event verified with public data and backed by influential figures in the paddock. Mercedes has outlined a meticulous strategy to position itself as Verstappen's ideal destination for the new regulatory cycle in 2026. I want to know your point of view. Do you think Verstappen should stay at Red Bull, clinging to what he helped build? Or do you see more logic in him making the jump to Mercedes, betting on a future full of uncertainty, but with promises of greatness? Leave it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.